Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and welcome to another edition of NASCAR 07, as it is another Mark Martin Revenge Tour race for the Nextel Cup Series season on our custom schedule season. It is only race number 6 of 36. It's our first 50% race of the year, and it's time to go racing for the first of 2 races at the Tricky Triangle this season. Mark Martin never won a Cup Series race at Pocono in his Hall of Fame NASCAR career, but we're going to try to do the same thing today, or I should say do a different thing today, and that is get Mark Martin in victory lane at Pocono. It's a short race. It's only 100 laps, 250 miles, so the sense of urgency will be on, and we will be starting at the back with no practice or qualifying for today's race. So with this being the first look at Pocono on this scheme, and no practice going into it, we'll hope for the best. Yeah, we'll try to keep that hot streak alive to start the season, but it is going to be an uphill climb, to say the least, today. It looks like we're having some OBS issues. We might, give me a second here. Let me get the stream on my phone real quick. I want to see if it's lagging. Yeah, it's alright, I think everything's all squared away now. Let me know in the chat, excuse me, if everything's, let me refresh the page actually. That might help. Okay, I think we're good. Yeah, we're good. Alright, well, I don't know how much of the intro I got in with the lag happening. I was trying to work on that before the stream started. That's why I was a couple minutes late, but yeah, then for whatever reason, this is what, the second or third night in a row I've had, second night, yeah, both times with NASCAR 07 the last 2 nights. Oh no, it did that Monday too, yeah, this is Wednesday. Yeah, so this is 3 nights in a row now that I've had issues with, OBS. When I start everything up, what I have to do is I have to, literally before I close the application, I have to delete like all the game capture devices. I have to delete my camera, and basically when I restart OBS, I have to restart all the little, the mic, like I literally have to close out of every little detail of OBS and then open them back up individually again. So, yeah, I'll try to make sure I do that after the stream is over, so that way when I go to start the next stream, I already have it set and ready to go. So that way we won't have any more delayed starts. So apologize for that. Thanks for everybody tuning in. NASCAR 07, Mark Martin's Revenge Tour, race 6 of 36, and we are at the Tricky Triangle at the Pocono Raceway today. Our first 50% race of the season, so this will only be a 100-lap, 250-mile race. Sense of urgency will be on. We will be starting at the rear of the field. No practice, no qualifying for our first Pocono race of NASCAR 07. The Truck and the Busch Series don't race at Pocono in the 2006 season, just the Cup Series, so we have no clue how this race is going to go, and it'll be the first of 2 Pocono races on the season. The next Pocono race will be the full 500-mile, 200-lap race, but today a short one, so let's get this underway, and we'll see if Mark Martin can go to victory lane for the first time in his NASCAR Cup career at the Pocono Raceway. Green flag is in the air. We're going to be underway. Tony Stewart's going to be on the pole, and we are racing in the Poconos. Car is very twitchy on the straightaway. I don't like that. Oh my gosh, it moves way too soon. A lot of twitch going on the straightaways, and I don't like it. A lot of 2 and 3 wide racing going on though. Up in front of Mark Martin. A lot of 3 wide action down into turn 2. Through the tunnel turn they go. Still 3 wide off the exit of the corner. Oh my gosh. Mark Martin having a handful on the straightaways. I don't know why it's so twitchy like that. Oh, got loose on the straightaway. scared entering turn 1, honestly. How twitchy the car is. 3 wide down on the bottom. A little tap of the curb, but luckily Mark Martin's car was able to hold on. Try not to overcorrect it. Why is it doing that? It's like what it feels like on NASCAR 22 sometimes. Only if I would have done that already, I would have wrecked. Jeff Gordon led the first lap of the race despite not qualifying on the pole. Into turn 3. Martin had a massive run. Right into the back of another car, in fact. There's a little contact with Bobby Labonte. I'm about to spin out on the straightaways. I gotta get used to this. I don't even know how I can fix that, to be completely honest. I have to lift. I mean, that's not what you want to do on the long straightaways here at Pocono. Drafting is going to be very, very important. But this car is evil. Trouble. Turn 3. Couple cars in the wall. No caution. We stay green. Martin got into the back of the 18 car of J.J. Yaley, which kind of stalled him out. I couldn't tell who got together. Looked like maybe Kevin Harvick and Ryan Newman, but I'm not entirely sure. Could be wrong on that. There's really no way of telling either. It's a dive into the corner. Dave Blaney goes wide into the first turn. After a 3-wide dive. Did I say Bobby? I thought I said JJ. My bad. It happens. You know who I meant. He was JJ Yaley in the Busch Series too. Hey, I don't know why I said Bobby, if I did say Bobby. Well, I mean, I know why I said Bobby because it's an Interstate Batteries 18 car, but did not mean it. Contact with Yaley once again. That time is middle of the front straightaway. I honestly can't hold a straight line on the straightaways. I have not had that problem in this game, at least as much as now. It feels like Martinsville in the Busch, well, not the Busch Series. It would have been the Truck Series we raced at Martinsville. This is what it was like down the straightaways at Martinsville, but it was easier to catch because it's a lot slower speeds, obviously, than a 2.5-mile intermediate track like Pocono is. Car's fine in the corners, it just... I mean, you see it right there, and now he caught the grass, and that only amplified it. I don't know how to fix that. Add more downforce, I guess, but can't do that mid-race. Thanks for tuning in, by the way, tonight, Wade. Surprised there's nobody else in the chat yet. Well, it definitely wasn't Harvick that got the wall earlier, because he's still in front of Mark Martin. I mean, maybe clean air will help the 6 out a little bit. Contact with the Dover Monster down on the bottom. Tony Raines got really loose. Oh boy. I do not like twitching around when we're in traffic. It's bad enough on my own. 2 and 3 wide. Feels even less comfortable, as you can imagine. Big bounce off the curb. Martin could not get the drive off. Dale Jarrett going up the track. I think he hit the curb in turn 2. Joe Nemechek trying to side draft Mark Martin. Michael Waltrip had a big wiggle as he went up the racetrack getting into turn 3. Martin down on the bottom. Well, here's one way to keep it off of cars. That did not work coming out of the draft there. I think it would have been okay if I didn't overcorrect it. Any little tap of the analog stick, the car is so light down the straightaways. Michael Turner also welcome into the stream. I'd like to have been a little bit higher in the running order, 8 laps in. To consider it's only a 100-lap race on an intermediate track and a Cup race at that. Not used to the Cup Series races being this short. Martin on the outside of Nemechek, trying to stop the wiggling around there on the front straightaway. Oh, and he about turned himself getting into turn 1. He wanted to get to the bottom. How twitchy the car is. He didn't want to be on the outside. Somehow drove past Joe Nemechek even with how loose he got after the contact getting into the corner. It's almost like the grass kind of straightened me back out again. So it was not looking like that car was heading in the right direction there for a moment. It was run by Martin. Takes the dive underneath Jeff Burton into turn 3. And now underneath Michael Waltrip off the exit of turn 3. Waltrip maybe going down to side draft just a little bit. Mark Martin all the way down to the bottom of the track trying to get away from the 55. Martin just ran his fastest lap. Maybe his smoothest yet so far. Hangs on to 22nd for right now. Long ways to go in this race. All things considered, not sure how many pit stops are going to have today. There should be an accelerated pit window with this being a 50% race as well. So I have no clue. I would have guessed probably anywhere between 35 to 40 laps we could have went on fuel originally, but probably going to be even less than that now. Definitely a 2-stop race, maybe 3 stops. We'll see. If there's a chance to stretch it to 33 laps, it would be a 2-stop race. So that'd be ideal for Mark Martin. He can make it on 2 stops. Diving to the inside of Michael Waltrip in the 55. Couldn't stay there. Mark at least pulling from the cars behind him for right now. Been a little bit more smooth the last 2 to 3 laps. Oh, contact! And a parting of the seas for Mark Martin. As Jamie McMurray and Scott Riggs got together getting into turn 3. And Martin went right in between the 2 cars. Now pulls a block on Riggs on the front stretch as he holds on to 20th. That couldn't have been more perfect there for Mark. Right place at the right time in that situation. Jeff Gordon has led all 11 laps so far. No Hendrick Chevy has won in the Cup Series season so far. And in fact, no Chevrolet in general has won. Doesn't matter whether it's HMS or not. Ford has won 4 of the first 5, all with Mark Martin. And then Jeremy Mayfield, the only Dodge to get a win. That was at Bristol in the Food City 500. Mark Martin has not finished worse than second in the first 5 races. He finished second to Mayfield at Bristol, but still has less than a 100-point lead over Jimmy Johnson, who has 5 straight top 5s. In fact, hasn't finished worse than 4th himself this season, so that's another streak we have to watch out for today, as Jimmy Johnson trying to go for 5 straight top 5s to start the season just as well as Mark Martin, and that's why the points battle is so tight. Martin's winning these races, that's why he's got the points lead, but it is not big by any means. And Mark Martin is struggling for speed right now. He does not seem like he's got a very quick race car, all things considered. We'll take our first field pass of the race today. Maybe Mark will drive a little quicker. If we're driving as somebody else, perhaps. So we'll move as the 17 car of Matt Kenseth. Kenseth's got a car underneath him into turn 1. I believe it was Casey Kane, but Casey can't stay alongside Kenseth there. Matt in the 6th place position. Jeff Gordon pulling away from everybody right now. Nobody's got anything for that 24 car, it appears. Kenseth going low. On the inside of Brian Vickers. Kenseth just ran his quickest lap of the race that last time. 198 miles an hour into turn 1. I think that's Jimmy Johnson in 2nd. A big bounce off the curb by Kenseth. Slowed him up. Trying to stay in the draft behind the 25. Casey Kane closing in. Kenseth under Vickers. Vickers going to side draft him down the main straightaway. Kenseth not really having a lot of straightaway speed. The same kind of went for Mark Martin when we were driving as a 6 as well. Ryan Newman going for 3rd. Slipped up the track though off the exit of turn 1. Had to stay behind Elliott Sadler, and that's going to allow Brian Vickers to have a run. At the 12 car, Matt Kenseth down on the bottom lane, trying to follow Vickers into turn 2. And that moves Kenseth into the top 5. So he clears the 12. Kenseth under Vickers. All clear. Kenseth has a run. He's had his fastest lap of the race again that last time at the line. And he's going to take it 3 wide into the first turn underneath both Elliott Sadler and Jimmy Johnson. How about the move Matt Kenseth made that time in turn 1? Sat in line behind, waited for the right time to pounce. The inside was open as the 38 side drafted the 48 towards the outside, getting into that first turn. And Matt Kenseth is up to 2nd place now, trying to run down Jeff Gordon at the front of the field. And we will swap back to a different Roush Fenway Ford at the start-finish line this time. Let's swap back to Greg Biffle next. Not sure exactly where he's running. Kenseth was in 6th when we first transferred to him. Biffle in the top 10 as well. He's in 8th. And drafting off of Casey Kane down the main straightaway into turn 1. Biffle to the inside of Kane for 7th. Door to door into turn 3. Kane didn't give Biffle a whole lot of room there. But Biffle will complete the pass. .52.107 that last lap. feel like Biffle's car is the smoothest of the 3 Roush cars we have driven so far. Haven't driven as a 26 of McMurray yet. Kenseth dropping back a little bit after just getting into second. Lost second place right back to Jimmy Johnson. Still stuck on the top. Sadler will get to third in turn 3, and Newman going for fourth. Biff a little loose off turn 1 there. He did drive away from Casey Kane, though, after passing him. So much battling going on from second on back. I think that's another reason why Jeff Gordon was able to pull away as much as he did. Biffle catches Kenseth. Gets to his inside off of turn 2. Into turn 3. Biffle with the dive, and he'll get underneath Brian Vickers as well. And Jimmy Johnson. Look at the moves Greg Biffle's making off turn 3. Drafted behind the 12 on the inside lane. It's going to help Biffle stay underneath Sadler. And now Biffle going for second into turn 1. He got past those cars a lot quicker than Matt Kenseth did. Kenseth didn't really have anything for Gordon as he started to slip back from him. Maybe Greg Biffle has something for him, though. Biffle blocking Newman into turn 2. It's going to be hard to pull away like Jeff Gordon with how long these straightaways are and how easy it is to stay in the draft down the long straightaways. Really makes it interesting as to how Jeff Gordon did pull away as much as he did. And knowing it's not a 500-mile race at Pocono, he can afford to run that quick and maybe not have an engine failure of any kind. So it's working out for him. So far, so good. Jamie McMurray in the 22nd place position at the start-finish line. He's a little over 8 seconds off the race lead. He started this race around mid-pack where he's running. Actually, I think he did qualify a little higher. McMurray has 3 straight top 10 finishes coming into tonight's race. And to keep that streak alive at 4 in a row, he's going to have to pick up quite a few more spots from where he's at right now. 12 to be exact. He's got 1 right in front of him, which would be Joe Nemechek in the 01 car. And the question here in the early going is, can anybody compete with Jeff Gordon? Because as of right now, Jeff Gordon is absolutely driving away from the field. It just looks extremely quick tonight. McMurray side by side with Joe Nemechek on the front straightaway. Couldn't make the pass, though. When he was side by side most of the way down the front straightaway, he only topped out at about 193 miles an hour into turn 1. We were seeing speeds from Matt Kenseth and Greg Biffle at the very front of the field in the top 5, running speeds of 198 plus. Going into the first turn, McMurray bump drafting Nemechek down that straightaway that time, and McMurray was able to get a little bit faster. A 194. Makes that undercut move on Nemechek again. Just can't complete the pass, though. Go 2 more laps with the 26, and we'll go back to the 6 of Mark Martin. Halfway out of gas at this point, so it is looking like it's going to be a 2-stop race. With this being a 50% race, you never know. This could be our first Cup Series caution-free race. We had our first Busch Series race go caution-free last night in a 100% race at Milwaukee. 250 laps. That was one of the longer scheduled Busch Series races of the season. So we could have that happen back-to-back nights in a row. We'll just have to wait and see. One more lap with Jamie Mack, and then we'll swap to Martin. Quarter of the way home, 25 laps down, still 75 to go. Mark Martin a little bit higher in the running order than what McMurray is right now. McMurray battles Michael Waltrip for 20th. I think we left Mark Martin in 20th, so he has picked up a couple more spots. Not many, but he's picked up a couple. Murray again to the inside of Waltrip. This time he'll stay inside of him, though, getting into turn 3. Ran inside of him, let alone making the pass. Murray door bangs his way through. And to Martin we go. Martin at 17th. Trying to block Jeremy Mayfield. Down into the first turn. Big dive by that 19 car. Mark did not get off of turn 1 very well, though, speed-wise. Mark Martin about 6.2 seconds off the lead. Jeff Green still in the top 10 in points after 5 races, excuse me. Trying to make it 6. Running decent right now, but Martin over driving turn 2 a little bit. Harvick and Stewart side by side, definitely slowed him down a little bit for Mark to try to get a run. He got to the inside of Jeff Green, or Kevin Harvick, I should say, and he's drafting on the bottom behind Jeff Green. 66. Green with the dive. Martin with the dive as well. Making contact. Green passes both Stewart and Harvick. Mark Martin trying to do the same, and this will be the first time Martin has cracked the top 15 today. Tell you what, Jeff Green in that 66 is showing a little bit of speed. Gets to the outside of Bobby Labonte. I'm not sure if that's going to work. Martin backing up the entry into turn 3. It sounds like some of the leaders are on their way into the pits this time. Greg Biffle coming in. Bobby Labonte just now coming in. So we are having green flag pit stops here at Pocono. And Mark's going to be able to go quite a ways on fuel yet. Interesting that we're seeing cars pit already. The cars that are pitting right now are definitely not going to be able to make this race on 2 pit stops. Tony Stewart driving underneath Jeff Green, trying to get that spot back. Definitely got to watch the lap cars coming out of the pits. All 3 of these cars, Stewart, Green, and Martin, were able to cycle past the 45 car of Kyle Petty. Definitely have to stay in the draft down these long straightaways. JC1424, thanks for tuning in. And we will alternate through our different camera angles for the first time in the race today. 30 laps in the books at Pocono. It's the first time that Mark Martin's been in the top 10 today, although it's during green flag pit stops. I don't know if that counts too much. Before green flag pit stop started, he was only as high as 15th. And we started seeing our first comers on the pit road right around lap 29, I believe. It's the first lap we saw drivers pit. Lap 28 coming to lap 29 specifically. Martin's car just a little loose, especially on corner exit, but times it kind of slips out from underneath him on corner entry as well. Car not very fast though down the straightaways, very twitchy on the straightaways as a race car, and that's been scrubbing some speed off from time to time. Leaders are on pit road, so this will be 5 bonus points for Mark Martin staying out of the pits longer than everybody else. He'll lead his first lap of the day. And Mark is going to try to run this out as long as he possibly can. And we'll see what happens from there, as there is a chance that he can make this race on 2 pit stops. And honestly, if he can do that, more power to him. He's going to have a good chance of winning this race on strategy today, honestly. I have no complaints with that whatsoever. Mark Martin can win this race by only pitting twice. Honestly, it's probably going to be his only way of getting into victory lane today. Ryan Jensen, thanks for tuning in. And Matt Kenson's still on pit road. Now he's up to speed, actually, as he just worked himself off of the pit lane. Now, obviously, with this track being so long, even with this first portion of the race staying caution-free today, there are a lot of cars on the lead lap. So caution right now would actually hurt Mark Martin because it would only trap a handful of cars a lap down. And he's going to actually lose track position. And obviously, he's losing track position because he's on older tires staying out. But obviously, the idea is if this race goes caution-free, he can make this race on 2 stops the way everything's pacing right now. And that could be the key to victory for Mark Martin today. Have you been to Pocono, JC, by chance? I was there for the double-header weekend in 2021. I mean, it's nice. Honestly, it's a beautiful track, like the track itself. Facility-wise, it kind of reminds me of Darlington because it feels kind of like old school. It doesn't really feel like anything's like renovated by any means. A lot of tent vendors that are there. Honestly, there were almost as many tent vendors at Pocono as what I've seen at most other tracks. I think Bristol really is like the only one that I can think of off the top of my head that consistently has it beat. Well, I guess Daytona, but you kind of have to like travel away from the track at Daytona to find the tent vendors. But like actually at the track though. Yeah, outside of Bristol, I don't know if anything beats it, honestly. From that side of it. From a merchandise side. Very big racetrack. Very, very big. Yeah, it's unique. Honestly, it's... I've been to Watkins Glen before. It kind of feels like that to a certain extent, where it's a road course, but you can actually see quite a bit of the racetrack at Watkins Glen. I don't know why I'm comparing it to that. Maybe it's just because of the section of the country it's in. It felt like it. There's like in a bunch of trees. A bunch of trees surrounding the track, and then there's just like a random racetrack there. Road America was kind of the same way too, Watkins Glen. Pocono's that way. Not a lot of elevation changes, obviously, with Pocono, because it's kind of a flatter track for the most part. So Mark Martin will pit at lap 37 will be the plan for him. We know he's definitely gone far enough that he is only going to have to pit 2 times in this race. And more than likely, everybody else is going to have to pit 3 times. If and only if this race goes caution-free, will that be the strategy to win this race for Mark Martin? And at least for the early portion of this race, it's been the strategy to at least get him 5 bonus points and a couple laps led. Because I don't know if he would have led a lap otherwise today. Honestly, because we're that far off on speed. About 30.2 seconds ahead of the leader as we speak. Honestly, with this being a 50% race, oh man, do I do it now or? I think we're gonna go fuel only. First stop, fuel only. Take a little bit of a gamble here. Try to push these tires a little bit. A lot of it, really, but we're gonna take the risk. We're gonna go fuel only. Martin coming into the pits, has to lock the tires up though, and a speeding penalty. Well, in that case, I'm just gonna take tires. So we were already speeding. Gosh darn it. Speeding penalty for Mark Martin. I think I hit 74 miles per hour at the commitment line, and the speed limit's 70 at every track in this game. You can see most of the track if you sit high enough up. I think the only blind spot really was from where I was sitting, like right... I was actually sitting more towards the end of the grandstands, closer towards turn 1. I was like 3 or 4 sections from the end of the grandstands. The only part that was blocked off with like any trees from the infield or anything of that nature was the short chute between 2 and 3. But I could see everything else besides that. From the middle to exit of turn 3 all the way to... Oh boy, we've got some cars slowing up here. Dale Jr.'s blowing an engine. And as Jr. blows a motor, I think that was Tony Raines and Dale Jarrett that Mark Martin was able to pass pretty quickly to get to 21st. And obviously Dale Jr. would have been for position as well. I'm not sure where he was running before that. Jamie McMurray and Michael Waltrip are there. Oh my goodness, about turned his teammate. Oh, and McMurray tried to take him out. He was not happy. He was not happy. That was deserved. Even amongst teammates, I didn't mean to get into him and drive right through him. Even though that's what it obviously looked like, and that is what happened. I wasn't expecting him to hit me, though, after that. Dive into turn 2. Martin got to get by Waltrip for 19th. Yeah, it's a tough pit road penalty for sure. I think Dale Jr. just made it to pit road. You can see how far off the lead Martin was from his teammate Greg Biffle. By the way, good job on Greg Biffle cycling to the lead after green flag pit stops. I mean, the good news is with the pit road speeding penalty, it's not really going to matter for Mark Martin having that one as long as it goes green to the end. Obviously, if the caution comes out, he has lost a little bit of track position because he was in 15th. Came out 21st. I feel like Mark Martin was loved enough. I don't think the crowd would roar if Jamie McMurray took out Mark Martin. That would be the Jamie McMurray heel turn. That's what that would be. That's a teammate. Man, we're almost halfway through the race already. Actually, kind of lucky this is one of the 50% races on the season because it gives us a chance to do this strategy. Because obviously, strategy would be way different if it was a full race. We'd go a full fuel run. I mean, we'll find out in the second Pocono race a little later this season. Martin to the inside of Joe Nemechek. Side by side between the 6 and the 01. Mark Martin's future ride, NASCAR 08, will be in that 01 car. Wonder how far back Greg Biffle was from Jeff Gordon, because Gordon dominated the start of the race. I don't really think anything had him on the speed side of things, but I guess Greg Biffle showing some speed here. After the first set of pit stops, they were able to get out in front. I don't know if they pitted a couple laps before Gordon. I mean, I'm guessing that that's probably what happened. Maybe he pitted like 3-4 laps before him and able to cycle out in front of him as a result. This is a pretty old surface at Pocono in this season. This is when the tunnel turn was very, very bumpy. I always remember them calling that like one of the roughest corners in NASCAR at the time. And then I also remember when they repaved the racetrack. What was that, 2011? Or 2012. 2012, I think, was the first year they raced on repaved Pocono. It might have been 2011, but 2011, 2012, whatever. And then they were talking about, like, how much smoother it was, turn 2 versus where it was before. I mean, the fact that the leaders haven't even gotten into lap traffic yet, crazy. Even with the 5-second penalty, though, I mean, that's all that costed us was 5 seconds with the speeding penalty. We'd still be quite a ways off of Greg Biffle right now. I mean, the only chance to win this race is needing this thing to go caution-free to the very end. I mean, there could be some other options to get up there, but we'd be about 6 seconds back right now, which was about where it was. I think it was like 6.5 back when the pit stop started at lap 29. Well, we'll just take that final field pass of the race. Nope. I'm glad he wasn't going to follow us. That's not what I was trying to do. We'll swap back to Jamie McMurray at lap 46. 55 laps to go in the Pocono 250 tonight. It's probably really fast, too. Probably a really noticeable speed difference from 2011 to 2012, especially going into turn 1. Wow. A lot of speed in turn 1 for Jamie McMurray. Can't quite clear Dale Jarrett, though. Jarrett got a side draft the 26 car back. Jamie holds just underneath him, clipped the curbing with the left front getting into the corner, but still cleared Jarrett by the exit of turn 2. Dale Jr., the only driver out of the race with an engine failure so far as well, which is actually shocking when you consider how fast this racetrack is, because in the last intermediate racetrack, which was actually the last race at Las Vegas, we actually had 11 engine failures in that one. 11 drivers DNF'd. Oddly enough, one of the guys, and actually the guy who has led the most laps so far in the race today, Jeff Gordon, was one of those drivers after leading over 70 laps in that Vegas race, the second most of any driver. Finished outside the top 35, fell back in points as a result. Now it's just really a Jimmy Johnson and Mark Martin breakaway, even just 5 races into the season. But then if you look at our Busch Series point standings, we have a ton of drivers at the very front of the field, all within striking distance. And the Truck Series, well, the Truck Series is tight between like 2 or 3 drivers, but it's very tight, though. Obviously, Busch Series very tight, but close between Johnson and Martin, and then there's the rest of the field. I wonder how big of a gap they can actually get over everybody else if they can somehow keep their torrid pace up to start this season. Phil Moore, welcome into the stream tonight. We will swap to the 16 of Greg Biffle at the start-finish line, lap 50 in this race. All the way up there. Biffle's got a pretty sizable lead, too. Doing well for himself. NASCAR Heat 2, I haven't played that in a long time. I haven't played that since Heat 3 came out. What year would that game have come out now? Is that 2017? NASCAR Heat 2? 2017 game? Just hit halfway on fuel. 2017, yeah, that's what I thought, because I'm trying to remember like the graphics from it, and I thought I remembered the Monster Energy Cup Series logo on there. Mark Martin doesn't win this race, Greg Biffle may have the car to be able to do so. Honestly, with how many laps Greg Biffle has led in this race, he has definitely got to be catching Jeff Gordon for the most laps led. I don't know if anybody's going to have anything for Greg Biffle on speed, but I said that about Jeff Gordon at the start, and obviously Greg Biffle was able to catch a pass and pull away. First NASCAR game with full roster since like 1997. But didn't it wasn't that the game where they had Bobby Carter in it, or was that a different NASCAR Heat game? What NASCAR Heat game was Bobby Carter in? Actually, I think that might have been either Heat 4 or Heat 5, because I think that was when I had the channel. I'm pretty sure. To have like all these real NASCAR drivers, then you have like one random one in there. Bobby Carter. NASCAR Racing 2. Oldest NASCAR game I have is NASCAR Thunder 04. I haven't played it since we haven't played it on it. Well, I think I was like finishing up a career mode on there, like off the channel when I was still doing NASCAR 05. But it's probably been a couple years since I've played it. I don't have the urge, and that was like one thing with the career mode on that game, and for me, and this is just because I do full races and stuff a lot. But to me, it felt like it lagged on a little bit. Like, I don't play NASCAR games unless I'm streaming now. Like, that's the only way I, play it. Just because I play it so much this way, I just don't have the urge. We'll drop back as a 17 of Matt Kenseth now for about 4 laps, and then we'll drive back as Mark for the rest of this race. Kenseth behind Stewart. I mean, the oldest NASCAR game I've ever played was NASCAR Thunder 02. I didn't play any of the earlier games before that. Got into the back of Tony Stewart. Kenseth trying to get by Smoke. Stewart clears Kurt. Kenseth trying to do the same. Is that Jeff Green for position up here? What a drive by the 66 this season. I remember Mike Bliss had a top 10 points finish in NASCAR 06. Is Jeff Green going to be the Mike Bliss of NASCAR 07 on our gameplay? I mean, he's top 10 in points. And at Pocono of all tracks, at Intermediate, one of the fastest tracks in the circuit. Tony blocking all the way to the bottom of the track on Kenseth. He's down in the grass. He takes out Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Green. And Kenseth's up to 4th, and we stay green. No caution through all that somehow. We stay green at Pocono. Tony Stewart was down in the grass trying to block the 17. Kenseth never hit the grass, but Tony obviously did there, and he went up the track. And poor Johnson and Green there, and Johnson falls back to 5th, still in the top 5. Stewart got the worst of it, I think. Kurt Busch got up to 6th. Looks like Stewart's just ahead of Jeff Green, so that drops Jeff Green to 8th after just running in the 5th place position. So maybe he got the worst of it, losing 3 spots. Kenseth 3 seconds off the race lead. Wonder who's in 3rd up there with Gordon then. I'm not sure, honestly. Oh, probably Elliott Sadler, now that I think about it. Either him or Casey Kane, probably. More than likely, it's Sadler. Well, I'm glad we didn't get a caution, because that would have hurt Mark Martin's chances of trying to win this race on pit strategy. We are still caution-free in this race over halfway home. We'll drive as Martin the rest of the way, as he is in the 16th place position. He's 10.7 seconds off the lead. And outside of just during the cycling... Oh, no, and there we go. Caution is out for the first time. And it's debris off Jeff Green's race car, bringing out our first yellow after the contact he had with Stewart in the wall just a few laps ago. Yeah, that's tough. Everybody's going to be coming in, I'd have to imagine. And here we go. Well, everybody's going to be pitting 3 times in with this caution coming out. They will not be able to make it on field to the end of this race. Looked like at least one car stayed out of the pits, which I'm kind of surprised. So it'll be a 3-stop race for everybody. So bunch the field back together, but it's a good thing I got 5 bonus points already. It's a good thing I ran that first run long. Not only we could have made it if it went green to the end, but we also got 5 bonus points because it was going to be tough to get to the lead today. I just don't think I have... I mean, you'd imagine I'd have the same car as Greg Biffle being teammates, but nobody's able to keep up with Biffle. I mean, even Kenseth was in 8th when we took over as him, and he was the next highest running car. Looks like Jimmy Johnson lost a bunch of spots on pit road. He came out 2 spots behind Martin. And we only have a couple cars a lap down for the race start here. Green flag back in the air. Quick pit stop at the 6th team as they will end up going from 15th at the caution to 9th. Martin did not take off well in the restart. Big block on Kyle Busch down into the first turn. Busch had a big head of steam. Got by his teammates, Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson. Both lost a lot of spots on pit road. Got by McMurray to get the 10th. Martin pulled the block on him. And I can't believe how slow Martin was getting up to speed there. Contact with Busch didn't help, but even before that, obviously, Mark did not take off. And that is not a caution Greg Biffle wanted, having a pretty decent lead. And we will see if we get any more cautions today. That debris yellow at lap 59, the only one so far. Mark went 37 laps on fuel, so the window is open from now to the end of this race. I doubt he's going to be able to make it 2 extra laps. You have to go 39 laps on the screen flag run to the end to make it. I don't think anybody can. Maybe, I mean, maybe we could, but I don't see it. I mean, maybe there was 2 more laps I could have went. I really don't know for sure. I didn't want to risk it. I'll tell you that much. Not around this racetrack. 2.5 miles. That's a tough 2 laps to try to save. 3 wide for Jeff Green. Underneath a couple lap cars there of Robbie Gordon in the 191. Bobby Labonte's for position, though. Great run for that 43 car as he's in the top 10. Martin breaking the side draft from the 43. And nothing doing. Labonte going wide, almost gets into Robbie Gordon in turn 1. A lot of bottom left open. And Mark Martin is close to completing that pass, but not quite able to. And Bobby Labonte still hanging on the outside. Matt Kenseth to the lead for the first time today into turn 2 as he just went up there and passed his teammate. And Matt Kenseth now trying to get 5 bonus points for leading his first lap of the afternoon. Ethan, thanks for tuning in. Martin down on the apron of the racetrack here. See if Tony overdrives the first turn again. Down to the grass. He did it the last time. He did it that time, and he's up into the wall, all on his own. He definitely made a mistake. And here comes Mark for the taking. I kind of overdrove the corner myself, but not as badly as Tony. We were driving as Kenseth, though, the first time Tony did that. Tony wants to block. He doesn't matter who's behind him. We'll just alternate through the different camera angles one more time in today's race. 34 laps to go at the tricky triangle tonight. NASCAR 2002 to 2009. Yeah, I've never played 08 or 09. Curious to see how those games will be. And look, for that matter. Martin underneath Jeff Green. Passes him. And he, I believe, has cleared Tony Stewart. Spotter called him clear. He moved up and he is clear. Had to trust him on that one. Mark Martin passes 2 cars for position there in turn 1 to move to 6. I mean, the possibility of winning this race on speed is still there. It is not over. I can't even tell who this car is in front of Mark Martin. Into the grass, up the track, whoever it was. Don't care. Keep running that line and they end up making the mistake. They go up the track. I don't think he got the wall like Tony Stewart did a couple laps ago, but definitely went up the track. And that moves Mark Martin in the top 5 for the first time today. Biffle back in the lead. Kevin Harvick in second. Kurt Busch in fourth, trying to go for third underneath Kenseth. Big dive into the corner for the 6 as he falls the 2 to get underneath his teammate. Fastest lap of the day that last time. Trying to get Kurt Busch to drive into a mistake. Down into turn 1 he goes. Oh my gosh, I ended up making... Oh, and he took out Harvick. He definitely took Harvick out. Good thing I was down as low as I was to miss everything. I think Kenseth had to check up also because Martin was side by side with the 17 getting into the corner. And just like that, Mark Martin's up to second. We are down to 30 laps to go this time by. Mark has not led on speed today. But with that caution coming out, the field getting bunched together, maybe he doesn't have to go off strategy to get the win. It's equal strategy to the end anyway. He's got to run on Biffle. It kind of stalled out when he pulled out of line. But he still carries the entry speed a little bit deeper into turn 1. And they are side by side for the lead. Crew chief called him clear. Moved up slowly, but he is clear. And Mark Martin out in front. And now just trying to block for his life. It's going to be tough to pull away with these long straightaways. Biffle's going to be able to stay in that draft. But Mark Martin is your leader. Biffle trying to block. I should say Martin trying to block Biffle. Man, oh man. Biffle has a run. Martin's just mirror driving right now. That's all he's doing. Even with it being teammates behind him, Kenseth and Biffle are right there. It could be a 1-2-3 finish for Roush Fenway Racing. It probably wasn't looking that way for most of this race. I knew Biffle had the speed. Still don't know where Jeff Gordon's at. He's been MIA ever since the caution. He fell outside the top 10 through pit stops, and he's trying to get his time back. Kenseth with a run. Look towards the bottom. Mark Martin was there. Mark does not want to give this lead up. Smokey in the pot, thanks for tuning in. I think Kurt Busch. Oh, he tagged Martin just a bit. Martin got loose, scraped the wall. He lost the lead, and Biffle's going to get around him for second. Kurt Busch got into the left rear of the 6. I thought I gave him enough room, and I guess Kurt just went wide anyway. Martin trying to block Kenseth. Oh, Kenseth! He overdrove it into Mark. Is that a fantasy car? It is. It's J.J. Johnson in the 187. We have a fantasy driver in third at Pocono. I thought Jeff Green was going to be the upset of the day. Running in 6th at one point. Middle of the race. How about late in the race? J.J. Johnson's up to third. I don't even know how far back Kenseth fell after the contact. Mark Martin was trying to block him, maybe blocked a little too low that last time by. We're down to 26 laps left. J.J. Johnson into the first turn. Gets to the inside of Greg Biffle. They're side by side for second place. Mark just trying to get underneath the Biff. One of these Roush cars have to get the win today. They can't all foil late. J.J. Johnson is looking underneath of Kurt Busch. Where has this guy come from? J.J. Johnson trying to have a career-defining day. He's trying to make a name for himself in NASCAR 07 as he blocks Mark Martin all the way down the track. 25 laps to go at Pocono. Martin trying to force the rookie fantasy driver into a mistake. Martin kind of made a mistake. Oh! Into Kurt! Up the track they go, into the wall! Well, he made a name for himself, all right. And Mark Martin's got the lead on the other side. How are there no cautions every time that happens? Oh, Biffle gets into Martin. I think he bump drafted him on the backstretch. Down the Long Pond straightaway specifically. Stuffed the 6 car in the fence. Harvick's up to second. Martin blocking. Oh, Martin got loose. Everybody's struggling for grip. Wonder how far back J.J. Johnson fell. Wonder if he's still in the top 10. 23 laps to go. Kevin Harvick to the outside of Mark Martin. If he completes this pass on the outside of Pocono, Mr. Where did he come from? Still side by side for the lead, and he cleared him. What a move by Kevin Harvick. He just passed Mark Martin on the outside of Pocono through turn 1. Mark trying to challenge back. Got to the inside of the 29. Does he have anything for him? They make contact. Martin led that lap. Mark flatlining it into the corner. Harvick's got a strong car. This is the first time he's led today. If he can lead back to the start-finish line, it'll be his first lap led of the race. The caution is out before we get a chance to get back under green. Caution flag is out. Everybody will be able to pit. Remember, everybody was going to be short on fuel. And it's trouble off turn 2 for Michael Waltrip and Denny Hamlin, it looks like. Our first accident of the day. The first caution was debris. Oh, Casey Kane actually was the car that got squeezed into the wall. I don't know what happened to Hamlin. It got him sideways, but I wonder if he maybe got in the wall and that caused the stack up behind him. So here we go. Final stops of the race. And we'll have a little less than 20 to go in the restart following our second caution. Harvick will get the lead today. But it's going to be under caution, not under green. Got to the lead under green, but didn't lead the laps until caution came out right as they were getting into turn 3. Wreck was behind him off of turn 2, behind the leaders. But as Harvick passed for the lead on the outside, great job by his pit crew winning the race off pit road. Looked like one car potentially stayed out. Okay, so it sounded like there were some cars that actually stayed out of the pits. They're going to try to risk it on fuel. That's going to put Mark Martin back in traffic a little bit here. He'll be 6th despite being 3rd off of pit road. Green flag back in the air. And maybe there's some lap cars that stayed out. I think maybe Martin was 6th coming out of the pit, so Mark lost 4 spots of pit road, went in 2nd, came out 6th. We're down to 18 laps to go at Pocono. Who will win this race? Got some lap cars up there. I think just one. 191 must have gotten the free pass with that caution. Robbie Gordon, the only lap car. So if we get another yellow, Robbie would get the free pass, and we won't have any lap cars. Mark Martin just doesn't take off while it takes him a lap to get up to speed around this giant 2.5 mile facility. 17 laps to go in this race. Jamie McMurray behind him up to 7th. Well, Jamie baby, out of nowhere. Now how about J.J. Yaley trying to get a top 5 finish after a great pit stop by that 18 crew? McMurray, though, trying to go for 4 straight top 10 finishes. Kurt Busch took the lead, by the way, in turn 1 from Harvick. Harvick stuck on the top. 3 wide underneath him. Both the Roush cars of Greg Biffle, Matt Kenseth are there. Martin finally got by the lap car of Robbie Gordon through turn 2. And he's going to need these guys to keep battling up in front. Oh, I think Kenseth and Biffle bounced off each other getting into turn 3. 16 to go at the line. We've got a race, ladies and gentlemen. Bounce off the curb. Martin trying to hang on to it. Underneath Harvick. Contact with the 29. Didn't think he was going to hold on to the car, but he did. Up to 5th. Harvick trying to get back around him. Couldn't do it. Side by side for the lead between Biffle and Kenseth. And Harvick, even though he won the race out of the pits, he didn't need that caution, did he? 15 to go. Into the first turn. Yaley drives it right into the side door of Matt Kenseth. Oh, Kenseth just tried to crowd the 6. That cut the momentum off of Martin. J.J. Yaley moved up to 2nd, just completely dooring Kenseth out of the way into turn 1. Harvick with the charge into 2, gets to the inside of Martin. Martin hangs on. I'm not sure why Kenseth's mad, but he is mad. Yaley's trying to go for the lead right now. Martin on the inside of Kurt Busch. We are down to 14 laps to go. Martin couldn't get by Kurt Busch through turn 3. He's able to break the draft on the 29 of Harvick, though. Martin to the outside of the 2. Trying to get a little bit of a share draft off Matt Kenseth. I don't know if Martin's going to be able to clear Kurt. No, he didn't clear him. Yeah, that's tough. We saw Harvick make a pass on the outside. How about Mark Martin in the tunnel turn making a pass on the outside of Kurt? His former teammate for 4th. "13 laps to go." Pulled too far out of the draft there. Kurt was able to stay behind Kenseth and power back past Mark Martin, but he didn't cover the bottom into turn 1. Martin using the curbing on the inside, gets underneath Matt Kenseth. J.J. Yaley. Oh, Martin just got turned by Kenseth off of turn 3. Turn 1, sorry. Turn 1. Kenseth right hooks Mark Martin, turns him into the wall. I think Biffle was the leader when the caution flag came out. What was that all about? Well, we're going to stay out. How much damage did that cause? I don't even remember Kenseth and Martin really getting together in this race, to be completely honest. Wow. From the last race. Did I make contact with them at Vegas? On Monday? 9 to go. Green flag back in the air. I don't know. Wherever he's mad from, he's very mad. Oh, and he's trying to turn him again. Tried, did not succeed through turn 1. Into turn 2. Kenseth hits the curb. Caused him to bobble up the racetrack. Martin's just trying to get away from him. Now it's down to a 3-car race on the restart between Greg Biffle, J.J. Yaley, and Mark Martin. 8 laps to go at Pocono. After our 3rd yellow of the race, all 3 cautions coming out in the final 42 laps. And 2 of them in the final 20. Biffle and Yaley drafting and pulling away just a bit. Mark Martin just ran his fastest lap of the race. Yaley a bit wide though, getting into turn 1. Martin underneath the 18. Hey, clear for second. Martin trying to stay in front of Yaley. Yaley overdrove the corner. Mark right behind Greg Biffle. We'll have 6 laps to go. 16 and the 6. Biffle trying to get his first for Roush Fenway Racing. Mark Martin trying to get his 5th. His last 2 laps were his 2 quickest laps of the race. Trying to get to the inside of the Biff. Into turn 1. Caution's really tighten the field up late. Mark didn't really have anything for these guys early, but he gets to the lead now. Can he hold? Wow, Biffle with a charge back to the outside. Trying to protect into turn 2. And he did until the exit of the corner, and Mark got right back to the door. I don't think Mark's got straightaway speed. A lot of that could be from the damage Kenseth gave him. And I think that's why he got in front of Biffle, and Biffle was able to power back by on the top. We're down to 5 laps to go at the start-finish line. Yaley back into P2. Yeah, whatever happens here between Biffle and Martin, they have to make sure one of them gets the victory lane for the cat in the hat. Mark trying to keep that top 2 streak alive to start the season. As long as he stay green, he should end up finishing 3rd at the very least. JJ overdrives turn 3. Mark never touched him. Looked like Yaley bottomed out. He couldn't clear the 18 car. He wanted to slide up in line before they got to the straightaway, and he couldn't do it. 4 to go. And they're pulling away in the draft now on the main straightaway. Now Yaley pulling out of line. He had a big run into turn 1. And JJ Yaley pull off an upset in his rookie season to get his first career NASCAR Nextel Cup Series victory. Trying to beat not 1 but 2 Roush Fenway Fords. Ready to go at the line. I don't know if Mark Martin's going to have anything for these guys. Just doesn't seem to have good straightaway speed. He's good through the corner. Once he gets to the exit of the turn, if he can't clear one of those cars, he just can't get by him. And it's tough with Yaley and Biffle nose to tail on the top every time, too, that Martin doesn't have any drafting help. There's nobody else up here, both in front and behind him. Yaley going wide through turn 1. Martin hooks the curbing down to the bottom. But again, just can't clear the 18 car. Not too aggressive with the side draft there. Martin has never won at Pocono in his NASCAR career. Got 2 more laps to try to get it done. Trying to stay behind Yaley in the draft. About a 2-car length gap between himself and the 18 car at the start-finish line, and now down into turn 1. Yaley pulling out of line. If he can get alongside Biffle, that could slow those 2 cars up just enough and allow for Martin to try to capitalize. But unless that happens, it's going to be very tough for the 6. Just can't get there. They're pulling him just a little bit down the Long Pond straightaway. Mark will be aggressive if he knows that at least the 16 or the 6 can get the win. Into turn 3, he gets to the inside of J.J. Yaley. If he can clear him, this would be huge. And he does clear him off turn 3 for 2nd. So now he can draft behind Biffle, and he's got a car to draft behind him with Bobby Labonte. Mark Martin trying to get the last lap pass for the win. He just ran his fastest lap of the day. Dropped to 51.645 that last lap. Biffle left the bottom open. Mark Martin is there. Can he clear? He's had a tough time trying to clear. And he does, barely. Mark Martin to the lead. And now has to play defense. Oh, but Biffle got to the outside. Yaley and Biffle draft each other to the lead. Martin door slams the 18. Slowed his momentum down. He couldn't get back to the inside of the 16 there. And Biffle might have it 1 into turn 3. Martin's going to send it. Gets to the inside of the 16. Can he clear him this time? He does, barely. Mark Martin will win at Pocono. An incredible streak continues. Jeez, thought I had won and lost the race multiple times on the final lap. Well, Mark Martin wins a thriller in the Poconos. Man, I did not think I was going to win this race. When that first caution came out and ruined our pit strategy, I thought strategy was the only way we were going to win this thing. But we had the opportunity with 3 late race restarts that had kept the field bunched together and kept us in it. Even though, obviously, we didn't have straightaway speed. So when things got spaced apart, we really couldn't close in the gap on the leaders. And those 3 cautions really helped Martin compete from a speed standpoint today, because that may have kept him in it. Yeah, Kenseth almost screwed me too. Let's go. Let's go. Bang that right rear end. Make sure we pass Tech. Awesome. 1-2 finish, too. Biffle ended up 2nd through all that. Kenseth fell back to 8th on that last restart. Restarted 4th. Still got a top 10. And poor Jamie McMurray, I think after that first yellow, he was running in 8th. And then he ended up falling outside the top 10 with those last 2. So unfortunately, not all the Roush cars are able to lead or get top 10 finishes today. And I think McMurray was the only one that didn't lead any laps. McMurray fell back to 17th. I guess he led 2 laps today. I don't know where, but maybe during green... You know what? It might have been during green flag pit stops at the beginning of the race. Because we did get through the first set of green flag stops. I think that's where McMurray led. Mark Martin only led 13 laps today. Definitely didn't have the fastest car. I think the fastest car was probably Greg Biffle, who led the most laps, 42 laps led. Early on, it looked like Jeff Gordon was going to have the quickest car, but then he lost track position and ended up finishing 7th. A lot of it was that slow pit stop, which was the 2nd stop of the day after the first caution, back at lap 59. And then he never really got back in contention for it, even on those couple late race restarts. We had 2 cautions with restarts with less than 20 to go, and yeah, Gordon just was a non-factor there. But Mark Martin gets the win. Biffle had the faster car, but Mark Martin, he beat him. We beat him flat out. We raced him clean, too. I was willing to rub fenders off of turn 3, but then when we actually had as good of a run in the center of the corner is what we did. Same thing with turn 1, too. We cleared him clean both times. And he cleaned us in turn 2, or before turn 2. I didn't realize that he had that big of a run on the top. J.J. Yaley gave him such a big push. Surprised this race went as long as it did, honestly. 1 hour, 50 minutes, and 3 seconds, despite the fact that we only had 3 cautions and it was a 50% race. Last to first, once again for old man Mark. Greg Biffle finishes second, J.J. Yaley third, Kurt Busch fourth, and then Jimmy Johnson with 5 straight top 5s to start the year. I honestly lost that storyline towards the end because of how good that finish was, but Johnson did keep his top 5 streak alive. So Johnson and Martin both have finished in the top 5 every race this season. Joe Nemechek finishes 6th. Great run for Joe out of nowhere, really. He was up in the top 15 most of the race. I didn't realize that he got in the top 10, though, at the end on those late restarts. Started 39th, too. Great run. Jeff Gordon finished 7th, as mentioned. Also, Matt Kenseth finished 8th, as mentioned. Bobby Labonte with a quiet, solid 9th place finish for the 43 for RPM. And then Dale Jarrett rounds out the top 10 tonight. And we didn't have really many DNFs. I remember Dale Jr. blew an engine, and I guess he was the only driver that actually DNF'd. And all the other 42 cars not only finished, but finished on the lead lap today. So we have 1 debris caution and 2 accidents, bringing out our cautions late in this race today. Let's go. So we're still not going to have a big lead by any means over Jimmy Johnson. Johnson, I'll tell you what, it's going to be tough to win the championship. I'm winning all these races early in the year. We have 5 wins in the first 6 races, which is ridiculous. Our next race will be at Watkins Glen. That'll be the first road course on NASCAR 07. We haven't ran a road course in the Busch or the Truck Series yet either. So Watkins Glen, and that will be a full race. So 90 laps for a full race for that one. But that'll be next week on the channel. No more NASCAR 07 this week. No more video game streams at all this week. In fact, I actually leave for Talladega Friday morning this week, and yes, I am going. I unfortunately had to make the late dropout at Daytona Dakota, but I will be at Talladega. So I will be there, leaving Friday morning for that one, about 6 a.m. Eastern time. I know the track's Central time, but got to be driving down there, play around the golf, so that's why I'm leaving pretty early in the morning. And no live commentary streams this weekend. I will be streaming tomorrow night, though. Don't forget to vote for our Throwback Thursday live stream. More than likely, we'll be watching the spring race from 1994. One of the more incredible races. In fact, if I remember correctly, that was the closest finish in NASCAR history at that time period. So, classic race. That's leading the poll right now, but we still have a lot of time yet. I won't close those polls until middle of the afternoon tomorrow. We'll know for sure what race that we are watching. So usually I close it tonight, but I'll give you guys a little extra time to vote. So one more stream yet before the weekend, and then I'm gonna miss it. No live commentary this weekend. It's the first time this year. Usually, we do the live commentary for every Truck Xfinity Cup, and last year was just the Cup because I had to work on Fridays and Saturdays, so it was tough for me to do the Truck and Xfinity commentary streams, unless it was at night. That was the only time we were able to do them. And so I've gotten in such a routine and a habit of doing that for a few months straight. I'm going to miss you guys. I'm going to miss you guys while I'm at the track. If see any of you guys there, say hi. And yeah, can't wait. There will be race highlight videos from the grandstands from the ARCA, Xfinity, and Cup races this weekend. Usually I only go to the Cup races when I travel, but I'll actually be at all the weekend events this week at Talladega. So there will be race highlights for all of them. Appreciate it, everybody. I'll see you guys tomorrow night for the Throwback Thursday. Again, be sure to vote in the community tab. Have a good rest of your evening, everybody.